The Special Investigations Unit says it is ready to recover at least 14 billion rands for the people of South Africa from officials and politicians who, through corruption, defrauded the state. This will be done through the Special Tribunal that was established earlier this year to prosecute such cases. I'm now joined by the head of the SIU, Advocate Mothibi, who is with me in the studio to discuss a whole variety of matters that the SIU has been working on. And Advocate Mothibi, pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you very
head
much
of
for
the NPA,
inviting us.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
The head of the NPA says that she has a backlog of about 881 cases that she received from you, and they are still sifting through them and will announce when they start with the prosecutions. But the work that is being done by the NPA is different to the work that's going to be done by the special tribunals for you. Can you explain this? I mean, the last time I spoke to you, we spoke about 600 cases, right?
Yes.
That were going before the special tribunals. She's mentioning 881. Explain the difference.
No, thank you, Ratim, for the opportunity for us to appear on your program. Here's the difference. The cases that the National Director of Public Prosecutions referred to yesterday when we appeared at Scopa in Parliament, those are mainly criminal cases. Remember, you may be aware, but this is how it works. When SIU investigates matters, and during the investigation we pick up that there's evidence pointing to the commission of an offence, those criminal offence evidential material, those are the matters that we refer to NPA for prosecution, right? Right. And as we investigate as well, there's other matters that we then put together for litigation purposes. And the example of those are as follows. For example, if we investigate an allegedly irregularly awarded tender, we investigate that tender, the tendering process, the supply chain management process, and if we find that there has been irregularities, we then take all those documentation, we take them to court. Before the special tribunal, we've been taking them to the High Court for litigation, because that is not a criminal case. We take it there to set the contract aside, that tender, call it tender, to set that tender aside, and once that tender or contract is set aside, we then seek to recoup and recover the monies that the state institution concerned would have lost. So once the contract is set aside, the second leg is then to argue for the return and the recovery of the money, and the court makes what's called just an equitable order to then recover the monies that the state institutions would have lost. So there's two processes: criminal process, which goes to NPA, and the civil litigation process that goes to the high courts. But now that the special tribunal now is in place, and the special tribunal really is going to help us to speed up the litigation, civil litigation process.
Yeah, and so, I want to believe that a lot of people would be interested in the recovery of the monies, besides the setting aside, right? Because many South Africans, the key issue is that there's talk that so much money is being bled through probably corrupt practices and so on, and not much is being done to not only prosecute criminally, but more importantly to recover the money that is being spoken about. This time we're talking about 14 billion rands. How do you arrive at that figure?
Right. We are aware of the high expectation on the part of the public to see action out of our processes of investigation, to see consequence management, whether it's criminal prosecution or civil litigation. On the criminal litigation side, you would have heard yesterday when we appeared at Scopa, the Director of Public Prosecution, the National Director, indicated that they are now in a process of prioritizing all of those 881 matters. According to their methodology, those matters have translated into about 293 cases. So we may have referred 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, made 5 referrals, because we make referrals per individual. They then look at it. If of the 5 makes up one case, they then group them and then it
so they
becomes
sort
one
of
case.
join the dots.
That's
and
right.
Where they connect,
Exactly.
then they make them one case.
One case, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah. So what's going to happen, and we can assure the public this, that we are going to see traction on the part of NPA, so that matters now reach the courts and prosecutions will arise. We have been assured by the NPA, and they've provided specialized prosecutions to attend to those matters. We are delighted about that. When it comes to civil litigation, your question, how did we come to the 14.7 billion? Those are the cases that are in the Special Tribunal, Special Investigating Unit Civil Litigation Book. Those are the matters that we have currently in courts, where we would be now seeking to apply to the courts or by agreement with the parties, take them to the Special Tribunal so that those monies can now be speedily recovered. But we've got even new matters over and above the ones that we have on our books that we have served in the courts. Those matters could then add on to these matters that are already in court.
Well, we're talking about this, the 14 billion rands that's going to be recovered. Earlier I mentioned that it's politicians and officials that these monies are going to be recovered from, but it also include private sector, isn't it, the businesses? Yes. But then the concern is that some of the money may have disappeared already. Who are you going to recover from?
That question is quite pertinent, because what we have said in the process of seeking to establish the Special Tribunal is that it's going to assist us to recover the monies that the state has lost. And we said where there's evidence that points that these monies or assets would have been taken outside of South Africa, we will use the applicable legal instruments to pursue and make sure that those monies are returned to South Africa. So your question, if we do have evidence to that effect, which more often our investigating officers do get, and there's indications in some of the cases that we've got monies that have been taken to, like India, monies that have been taken to Dubai. So we will then seek the legal instruments. In this case, there's a legal instrument called mutual legal assistant, which is used so that the legal process can kick in to make sure that we've got authority to interact with the other foreign jurisdictions to make sure that those monies are returned.
Now, tell me, Advocate Mothibi, what is different now in the way you work compared to how you worked not so long ago? I mean, we've got the Special Tribunal, right? And I want to also get to the point of talking about the Auditor General. What happens to the irregularities that the Office of the Auditor General uncovers? But
right.
what is new? So we can appreciate, it's the point of my question is this. We've heard stories before, right? Yes. Now, what is it that can give the public, South Africans, the confidence that this time around the SIU and other agencies mean business?
Atim, we can assure the public that it's business unusual. And this is quite demonstrable in what we have guaranteed to Scopa yesterday in Parliament. And we didn't guarantee that for the sake of just guaranteeing. We have looked into the processes that we are following. I'm aware that my colleague, the National Director of Public Prosecutions, has put in place teams that are currently looking, for example, at the ESCOM matters. We have referred certain matters to NPA in the ESCOM investigation, and we want to see action coming out of those matters. So we can guarantee the public that in not so long time to come, there will be actions that they will see. So this is the new I would put it this way, that is the new energy that has been infused with the new leadership at NPA to make sure that these matters are addressed. On the civil side, the new development is the establishment of the Special Tribunal. This Special Tribunal is typically put together to make sure that we speed up the recovery on the civil litigation side. As we speak now, the business as usual is to go to the high courts in the country where most of our matters are sitting at the moment, where the dates are being allocated to the next year, even mid next year or late next year. That's the business as usual part. The business unusual part is that we have sought to use the provisions of the Special Investigating Units and Special Tribunals Act to establish this Special Tribunal. And as we said, the President has proclaimed the judges that would sit in February. The Minister has now promulgated the regulations. The Special Tribunal President is now signing off on the rules. So once the tribunal is in place, you will see the speeding up of these matters. That is the business unusual that we're talking
What
about.
is the earliest time that the Special Tribunal will be sitting to hear your matters?
We work in very close, remember it is the responsibility of the Department of Justice to make sure that the Special Tribunal starts to function, but we've been kept informed about the process. That's why we are aware that the rules would probably be promulgated either in this week, and by this week I mean the working week ends tomorrow. So by tomorrow we may be informed that the rules have been promulgated or gazetted, or by early next week. So once that is done, we are ready with a list of cases that we will be able to go and serve at the registrar of the Special Tribunal, so that the matters can now start being litigated upon.
All right, we will be looking at some of those cases in a short while to understand exactly which ones are going to be given priority by the Special Tribunal, as well as which ones the NPA will be working on. Andy Mothibi is the head of the Special Investigations Unit. He's our guest here on the Modise Network. We're inviting you to share your views, your thoughts on these developments, and using the hashtag the Modise Network on social media.